Here we fucking go again. Alright, this is probably gonna be the last time. Unless I don't know, lose my mind again and do one more of these. God. Alright, Discount Destiny. I got food, so you can talk more, and I hopefully will talk less. Let's go.
He's going to fall over, as you'll see.
Are an Islamic military group. They're known for their cruel measures, forcibly recruiting child soldiers.
They're known for their cruel measures. Bunch of zero context headlines. You can read this one, for example, and this is an article by DW, which is obviously a German, and it's just criminal. These guys are doing a salute.
We just saw this, so.
Salute, right? Ignore the context.
Islamic
This one, for example, and this says that both the mention famine and starvation in Yemen on the and the you in 2018 head of so yeah, Saudi and Israel aligned shipping in order to try to do something.
This is all like covered in the last one. That's why I'm skipping it.
Be clear, they're not. Ethan Klein is someone who previously has made clear that he's a lesser evilist. He supports Joe Biden, even though Joe Biden does genocide. Less legal, government, even if the Houthis were terrible, horrible, evil people, as you're trying to claim, their blockade against Israel, what it's doing in Gaza, would still be just, would still be good. And I'm glad they're doing it. They're one of the few people in the world who are trying to do anything for Gaza. Gaza, a place besieged not just by Israel, but by all of the most powerful countries in the world who are supporting Israel. No one has taken any real action for them, aside from really Yemen and a tiny little bit of action taken by like Hezbollah. I guess the Hezbollah action proportionately was okay, I suppose, and Iran. And I do not really give a shit, honestly, about you splitting hairs about how bad these people are, because ultimately you don't care about how bad they are. What you're against is not that. What you're against is what is them taking action against Israel, because you were an Israeli Zionist ethno-nationalist. You were against them taking real action, trying to take action to stop a genocide in Gaza, trying to impose some sort of penalty on the countries carrying out said genocide and supporting it. That's ultimately what this is about, and we can't lose sight of that. This is bullshit. It's not what he's worried about here at all. He knows that the most difficult position here is actually arguing against the blockade and the merits of the blockade alone. So he's trying to like prime the viewer and poison the well by saying the people carrying out the blockade are bad. Look at all these bad things they do. Totally out of the context of why they're like this, why Yemen is so poor, the fact that the imperialist countries that he supports are a massive part of the reason for why the Middle East and Yemen.
If you give context to every evil action, then technically nobody is actually evil, because everyone has justification for their action. So this argument is just fucking dumb, but okay.
In particular, is relatively poor, and that said poverty is what breeds reactionary views and sentiments.
Virtually worthless. Women have virtually no rights, and homosexuality, of course, is punishable by death.
What do you fucking expect? Do you want these people living in abject fucking poverty in the midst of a fucking genocide to have like the most to be like enlightened women's rights advocates and legalize gay marriage or something, dude? Do you know what the best way to combat poverty in Yemen would be? For your country not to commit genocide there. For the USA and Israel not to have backed a Saudi genocide there. That's what would be the best way to combat this stuff in Yemen. To combat these regressive attitudes in Yemen. But you literally are not even going to mention any of that. You're in fact going to frame what is in large part due to the Saudis as the fault of the fucking Houthis. And worse, you're doing all of this by posting Saudi state propaganda and ultimately supporting the Saudi genocide of Yemen. In doing so, you're siding with the Saudis here, who the Houthis mainly fight. Ethan, what happens if you're gay in Saudi Arabia? What do they do to women in Saudi Arabia, Ethan? Well, you just got buy your fucking logic. Saudi Arabia also doesn't have the excuse for these reactionary views, given that it's not a poor country like Yemen is. How crazy it is that you're totally okay with spreading fucking Saudi propaganda when it's convenient for you in favor of their genocide of Yemen.
What do you mean they don't have an excuse? The excuse is the exact same in both situations. You can't be gay in Saudi because it goes against the doctrine, it goes against the religion. You can't be gay in Yemen because it goes against the religion. Has nothing to do with the blockade. Even before the blockade, this was the case. Like even before Israel existed, this was the case. So it has nothing to do with Israel and the blockades. Like. It's like, oh, they can't have gays because the Israeli blockade. They can't because the Saudis are blocking the thing. So it's like they can't be gay because they don't have time to be progressive. It's like they were like that before. So, they were like that before the blockades. So, kind of like argument is a bit, just because you can give them like a more like a reason. Right now, to justify it, you can't justify it for like the generations of where it was still people getting beheaded for it. So,
Yemen, you're totally okay with weaponizing the genocidal Goebbels Durstürmer propaganda designed to legitimize the genocide of Yemeni people, put out there by Saudi Arabia, which executes gay people, and then you turn around and say, whoa, these guys are evil, because they do the same thing that the people whose propaganda I'm spreading here also do. You're such a dumb motherfucker, Ethan Klein.
That lines up with leftist values. Now, just how little rights do
By the way, last I checked, Israel is not at war with Saudi Arabia, right? So, like, why would he even bring them up in this conversation? He's not out here in support of Saudi Arabia. like saying that like Saudi Arabia is like they're good people. He just says that, as a progressive, these are not values that, that you should agree with if you're a progressive. Like, since when do progressives need justification for anything? They just, pitchforks first and then ask questions later, No, actually, they'd never ask questions. It's just pitchforks first, and that's it.
Women in the Houthis Yemen have. Well, according to this, there's been 1,108.
Well, according to what, man? What is this? I'll tell you what it is. This is a headline, Anadolu Ajansi, which is Turkish state media. Now, this might surprise you. In Yemen, Turkey supported the US and Saudi-backed former Yemeni government that the Houthis have now overthrown. So obviously, Turkish state media is going to say something like this. Let's check out the evidence for this. It's based on a report. Let us look at like the website of one of the authors of this report. Now, just to be clear beforehand, obviously, sexism is going to be fucking rampant in a poor conservative country like Yemen, with or without the Houthis. And that is really to be expected because the way that Yemen is specifically a result of European colonialism, followed by now further European impositions onto Yemen via what has been a totally brutal genocidal campaign by Saudi Arabia and the US to essentially keep the country down as reprisal for them daring to...
So he's blaming the lack of progressiveness in countries like Yemen on Western colonization, whatever. Colonialization. Yeah, colonialization. As far as I know, even with the Western colonialization, there were plenty of Arab places that were not even remotely close to being colonized. Colonization. There's no extra L there. There's plenty of Arab nations, Arab countries that were not under any Western colonization. Yet, they still, like this, you can replace this with Iran, you can replace this with Iraq, you can replace this with, just any Arab nation, really. And you will probably get some truth out of it regardless. So, blaming it on the West, that the reason these guys are primitive beasts that rape and abuse women, I don't know, man. Seems like a bit of a weak argument. Just tiny bit, China was under Western colonization at some point as well. I don't see them raping and abusing women. It's definitely not to this extent, right? Now, did women not really have rights and stuff like that and yada yada, but like that was kind of like the whole world. But they moved away from it. So, something about these people, these cultures, for some reason, makes it so that they can't move away from abusing women. Also, by the way, let's take Iran for a second. Iran was very westernized in the 1960s, 70s, until they created the revolution that literally took them back 200 years of progress, and now women, again, don't really have rights. But let's blame it on the Western colonization, not on the culture of the location, not of the culture of the people and their religion. Let's blame it on the Western evil bastards.
Try to overthrow the US-friendly government. It's more circular logic, right? Like, our imperialism is justified against these people because they have regressive social views, but those regressive social views are caused by poverty which is imposed upon this country by the imperialism that ensures that these countries can never ever advance, can never ever get their people any sort of material alleviation, from which generally, as Western countries themselves have shown over their own material advancements over the last 100, 200 years or so, breed progressive social progress on things like women's rights and gay rights. Not in the USA anymore, though. Ethan justifies all of his hatreds with circular logic, where the result of the thing that he supports being done to these people justifies that thing being done to them. Imperialists are always like this. Look out for it. So let's just look at one of the organizations cited by this Turkish state media. Report, like the Coalition of Women for Peace in Yemen. Check out their website, and they have nothing regarding who funds them. They won't tell you about that. I wonder why. It's 100% the Saudis. They're not going to tell you that, though. There's no legal obligation for them to do so because, they run outside of the confines of like US law, which is where organizations would usually have to tell you this stuff, or EU law and stuff like that. So this organization is an initiative of Noura Al-Jari, who, according to her own About Me page here, was a member of the Ministry of Youth and Sports in Yemen, aka she was a former member of the outgoing Yemeni government, Saudi-backed government, and now she has formed this organization, which is called Women for Peace in Yemen. Now, you would think an organization that's for peace in Yemen would be like non-denominational, call out the atrocities of everyone. No. Specifically, it says here, our aim is to free women who have been arbitrarily detained by the Houthis. Only the Houthis. They don't care about anyone arbitrarily detained by the government, only the Houthis. It's almost like this organization barely even exists and is essentially just a propaganda front to, like, if you look at their social media handles, it's under Houthis. Under Houthis. It's all about opposing the Houthis, providing negative propaganda about the Houthis in English. They even have like a film, a trailer for a film, Detained Under the Houthis. It's like the entire point of this organization is just fairly lazy anti-Houthi propaganda for an English-speaking audience. I guarantee you, if you looked into like who funds this organization, who's really behind it, it would be Saudi Arabia. But don't worry, because he's about to cite another source soon enough that is much more directly and clearly Saudi Arabian. Like, he's basically citing negative propaganda in media with an incentive to provide negative propaganda about the Houthis, to tell you why the Houthis are bad, which, even if all of it were true, is the same shit that the previous government was doing and would not delegitimize what Ethan really has a problem with, which is their blockade against the genocide being carried out by Israel.
81 violations committed by Houthi rebels against women, including torture, rape,
Wow, it said that in the headline. It must be true.
and murder. So,
Ethan does zero source analysis, zero critical analysis.
the Houthis have a very wholesome flag, as you can see here. It says, translated, Allah Akbar, death to America, death to Israel.
What's wrong with death to America and death to Israel? These are the two countries that have victimized the Middle East.
Allah Akbar, death to America, death to Israel.
What's wrong with death to America and death to Israel?
Akbar, death to America, death to Israel.
What's wrong with death to America and death to Israel? These are the two countries that have victimized the Middle East more so than anyone else. What's wrong with that? If you would be Middle East and you wouldn't hate America and Israel, especially being dirt poor as most people in Yemen are, I don't know. I don't think they're human.
And a curse upon the Jews, and that's all of them, not just the ones in Israel. And of course,
Oh, do you know what Jew means to someone in the Middle East? All that they know about Jewish people is that there is a state that calls itself the Jewish state in Israel.
I was gonna say that the people who are in the Middle East, they are so stupid that they don't know that there are Jews outside of Israel. Even though these stupid people made an agreement, a treaty, whatever, with Hitler to kill Jews. But yeah, they only know about the Jews in Israel.
That brutalizes people in the name of what they say is Judaism and Jewishness. If that's all that you know about Jews, and you have a state that equates itself with Jews in general, and you take it at its word and you say, okay, well, I hate Jews then. Like, you have to at least put this within that context. But Ethan doesn't do that, does he? Here's what Israel does. Okay, Israel brands people's faces with the Star of David. Here's a Palestinian man whose face was branded with the Star of David. He's assaulted field in Gaza with the Star of David in it.
So, whoever did this deserves to be put in jail. This is not the Israeli way. This is not what Israel stands for. Okay? This is probably some asshole, what do you call it? What do you call them? The people who in prison, who like the guards, whatever. It's probably one of them who was a fucking asshole. Israeli police branded Star of David onto Palestinian. Whoever did this deserves to go to jail. I don't care. He could be a terrorist that killed 1,000 people. You don't do this to captives. Just kill him and that. Honestly, killing him I prefer if they kill him over this. The only people who I think deserve to be like branded and shit are rapists. Especially if they're like pedophile rapists. If he is known to be a rapist and whatever, honestly, abuse him for the rest of his life. I don't give a fuck. If he's just killed people, kill him. Yeah. If he abused them, abuse him the same way and then kill him. Eye for an eye. But yeah, if he's a captive, yeah, this is treat him like a human being, even because like I don't. This is vile behavior, and the only time I would accept this is if the person was actually like a rapist, even like honestly, even if he was a child murderer, I wouldn't be okay with this. But if he raped the child, I would be okay with this. You know what I mean?
Palestinian man whose face was branded with the Star of David. He's assaulted field in Gaza with the Star of David in it. Here's another one carved into the field with tank tracks. Israel is a country that claims that it's for Jews so much that the Israeli Supreme Court does not let Jews register their nationality on their identity card as Israeli because it says that doing so would undermine Israel's Jewishness because according to the Israeli state, Israelis don't exist, only Jews exist. So Israel is a state that says it's for Jews, by Jews, and carries out endless atrocities against everyone in the region, not just Palestinians, pretty much everyone they attack. And it does this while saying it's for Jews, by Jews, as I just said. And Ethan Klein removes all of this context because that's all of these people know about Jews. These people see Israel say, I'm murdering.
See, again, the whole point here is that when, a soldier is acting up and doing shit like this, right? Where is it?
Field in Gaza with
when, this is definitely not an order from above, right? This is just some soldiers, dicking around. But because soldiers dicking around, this obviously gives a bad image for the rest of the world about Israel. However, this is a soldier dicking around. To say this is like Israel's is responsible is literally the same argument of saying that it's like a random person in Palestine, in Gaza, right, is responsible for October 7th that Hamas, without any knowledge of the civilians, went and did. Okay, so Hamas on October 7th attack Israel. Has nothing to do with the civilians in that place. Like, they didn't know about this. They were left in the dark. They're just barely hanging on, just like trying to make it through the day. To blame it on the random civilian, on the random, people in Gaza for the actions of Hamas is wrong. I agree. But you have to carry the same standard for Israel then. Yeah, this is wrong. Branding the prisoner is wrong. That doesn't mean that Israel as a government is telling people to do this. It doesn't mean that all the Israelis are evil. And again, this lack of standard for analyzing is why this guy's a fucking retard.
The Star of David in it. Here's another one carved into the field with tank tracks. Israel is a country that claims that it's for Jews so much that the Israeli Supreme Court does not let Jews register their nationality on their identity card as Israeli because it says that doing so would undermine Israel's Jewishness because according to the Israeli state, Israelis don't exist, only Jews exist. So Israel is a state that says it's for Jews, by Jews, and carries out endless atrocities against everyone in the region, not just Palestinians, pretty much everyone they attack. And it does this while saying it's for Jews, by Jews, as I just said. And Ethan Klein removes all of this context because that's all of these people know about Jews. These people see Israel say, I'm murdering you because I'm Jewish, I'm genociding you because I'm Jewish, and they say, well, okay, I'll take you at your word. And for Ethan Klein, the problem isn't that Israel says and does those things. It's that these dirt poor people living under the boot of the worst imperialism in the world, some of the worst atrocities in recent modern history have been carried out in Yemen especially. And he's like, whoa, they say they hate Jews? Whoa.
Some of the worst atrocities in human history has been done in Yemen. Oh, so not Israel. Okay, thank you. No. Oh, no, sorry, I forgot. Israel is controlling the Saudis. Israel is controlling the US. Israel, there's no one else there involved. It's just Israel are so evil that even a country that they have practically nothing to do with, because there's two countries between them and a fucking waterway, a huge lake or whatever it is, right? And has absolutely practically no interaction with Israel, directly. But because of Israel, Yemen is suffering under the Houthis. Sounds about right. Maybe he misspoke. Maybe he meant the worst atrocities that are happening in Gaza, providing the people of Gaza work inside of Israel. That is one of those very, very atrocious things that Israel should never have allowed Gazans to work in Israel to make a living. Yeah, evil fucking bastards.
They must have just sprouted out of the ground, anti-Semitic. It's appealing to basically, as I said earlier, this ignorant idea in the West that that Jews are perpetually concentration camp inmates, basically. When in the context of Israel is a state that says we are Jewish, we do all this for Jews, while massacring, genociding people. Leaving that context out of something like this is utterly insane. It is utterly insane to expect
Wait.
Yemen.
Did he just say literally?
Israel is a state that says we are Jewish, we do all this for Jews, while massacring, genociding people.
No, I'm pretty sure that's nowhere near their charter. No one in Israel says that. No one in the government says that. You say it. You are saying it because you just hate Israel for some weird ass belief that the West is evil.
people. Leaving that context out of something like this is utterly insane. It is utterly insane to expect like random poor people in Yemen or Palestine or whatever to see Israel doing that and to have like this enlightened perspective where they're like, no, Zionist and Jew is not the same. Particularly when you yourself equate Zionist with Jew. You do it all the time. I just want to show you a tweet that he showed earlier that I think I skipped over. So here Ethan Klein puts a tweet that Rashid Al-Khalad sent out saying the execution that we carry out on all Zionists with a picture of like a guy impaled on a pike. Here's what Ethan Klein said about it.
To kill Jews and put their heads on pikes.
So apparently, according to Ethan, he said that he wants to kill Jews and put their heads on pikes. The tweet says the execution that we'll carry out on all Zionists.
Well, no, according to Ethan, he later explains that the reason he's saying it is because this Houthi guy, who is not a Houthi but is actually a Houthi, he treats Zionists and Jews the same. Yeah, some sentences he uses Jews, some sentences he uses Zionists, but the meaning is always the same. So he's basically using them interchangeably.
And so Ethan Klein is himself equating Zionists with Jew. And he's not anti-Semitic for that, apparently. Yet other people who take Israeli Zionists at their word, that they represent all Jews, and do the same, they are anti-Semitic.
So that is a really dishonest take. At least so far he was honest in like what he's like taking, like what he's talking about. This is completely dishonest take because he clearly says later, or even earlier, that this Houthi pirate is actually equating Zionists to Jews. That's why he's using that.
It's fine for him, but it's not fine for them. And this guy, by the way, he does differentiate between Jews and Zionists. He's posted a long thread. He shouldn't have had to. A long post on Twitter where he explained that he doesn't hate Jews. He just hates Zionists. He said, I would like to clarify that any Jewish person, Christian or Muslim, or any other who's innocent, we will never hurt them. We protect and ask them what they want. We stand for the oppressed, which is why we oppose Zionism.
Okay. I want to see any Jewish person go anywhere near these guys. I mean, they took random Chinese or Japanese crew members captive for a year. So I wonder what they would do if it was a Jewish person on board.
A Zionist ideology that is wreaking havoc upon innocent Palestinians and Lebanese. This guy is a 19-year-old who grew up in a country destroyed by war, attacked everywhere by some of the most powerful countries in the world, and he gets this. Ethan Klein doesn't.
I love that he actually believes what this guy says. It's like, do you really think they differentiate between Zionist and Jew? Let's be real. Do you really think they believe they can differentiate? Also, like, when did he post that? Yeah, it says 8 hours. Any dates here? October, I'm assuming this 24. Kind of hard to see. Actually, I should be able to see when. Yeah, 24. Okay. October 24. All right. Okay, so a year after the fact, where he probably started getting backlash, or people were starting talking about him too much, he decided to like clarify, right? Sure. Yep.
Jewish person, Christian or Muslim, or any other who's innocent, we will never hurt them. We protect and ask them what they want. We stand for the oppressed, which is why we oppose Zionism. A Zionist ideology that is wreaking havoc upon innocent Palestinians and Lebanese. This guy is a 19-year-old who grew up in a country destroyed by war, attacked everywhere by some of the most powerful countries in the world, and he gets this. Ethan Klein doesn't. Embarrassing.
Actually, he's 19 years old, so he probably doesn't get it. He gets what he was told because he's 19 years old. He has probably no critical thought in his body, in his brain. He just knows what he knows because that's what he was fed throughout his whole life. So his reality doesn't actually mean that it's the reality of the situation. So, and technically, he probably doesn't know shit because he is a 19-year-old. He didn't experience anything. He didn't experience anything outside of his own little world. So, probably doesn't know shit. But yeah.
And of course, victory to Islam. I get amused when these terrorists are like, we hate Jews. We want to kill Jews. And then people like Hassan are like, you're a fucking racist.
Dude, why are they terrorists? Why don't you tell us?
Just for saying that they just want to kill Jews and they're terrorists, man.
What you meant to say is Hezbollah is Muslim.
You're not.
Embarrassing.
And of course, victory to Islam. I get amused when these terrorists are like, we hate Jews. We want to kill Jews. And then people like Hassan are like, you're a fucking racist.
Dude, why are they terrorists? Why don't you
Because they're terrorists. Because they're terrorists. That's why they're terrorists. Because they're terrorists. Oh, you want like the sob story of why they're terrorists? Oh, let's have the sob story of the serial rapist who was abused by his mother, and now because he was abused by his mother, now it's it's more understandable why he's raping people. Dude, no, like I don't give a shit why you're a fucking terrorist. You are a terrorist. Yeah, like I don't care how justified you are. You are a terrorist. Like it doesn't like fucking matter. Every villain has a sob story. Is it the same size? Ooh, it is. Look at that. Perfect. Oh my god, you won't even tell.
You tell us.
Just for saying that they just want to kill Jews and that they're terrorists, man.
What you meant to say is Hezbollah is Muslim.
You're not thinking deep enough about this topic.
I mean, I literally just refuted this a second ago. He tries to frame it as like them being born anti-Semitic or something, rather than this being a reaction to what Israel does and has done to everyone around them for their
That's not
entire lives,
refuted.
for generations at this point.
My criticism of the Houthi slogan do not factor into what they are doing towards this anti-Semitic but contextualizing matters. Yeah, it's really interesting because like
What they're doing means the anti-genocide blockade.
that is such way.
Like, I don't know why. Let's bring up like a comparison here. The British Empire was the most genocidal empire in the world during World War II. Was it bad that the British Empire fought the Nazis? Was that like a bad thing? Because they were so much worse than these Houthis ever were. But does that mean that it was bad for them to do like a good thing, like fight Hitler, fight Italy, fight Japan? I'm sure Ethan would say no, of course not. They were bad, but Hitler was worse, and it's good that they joined in the war against him. It's good that they fought back. What Ethan is basically arguing here is that the anti-genocide blockade being carried out by the Houthis should be discarded and just by default thought of as terrible and bad because according to his narrative, they are horrible people. Which, even if it were true, that wouldn't say anything about whether it's legitimate or not to carry out an anti-genocide blockade against Israeli and Western shipping that is allied to Israel.
Western-focused propaganda, like for a Palestinian to arrive at anti-Semitic opinions. Okay.
This is just so nothing, man. There's no substance to this. Most of this is just Ethan confidently saying dumb shit, playing clips that he does not actually feel the need to debunk, and like what he seems to think are like epic editing flourishes that totally own his opponent.
They don't need to read my Kampf.
Dude, you are not funny. Oh, this is so embarrassing.
Oh, I almost forgot the most fun one. They brought back slavery.
You think the Houthis also
Ethan,
Actually, again, I think many people found the video pretty funny and entertaining. Just because you are biased and you hate him doesn't mean that the video wasn't entertaining. It was pretty fucking entertaining.
Klein, source analysis time. This is the funnest part of the video.
Actually, wait, hold up. Let's see how many people didn't find it funny. Yug Hassan Piker. Let's see, 3.2 million views.
Health, whereabouts.
Yeah, I feel like vast majority think that this was a pretty positive video, pretty entertaining video. Yeah, so objectively, you're wrong.
Ethan Klein, they brought back slavery. Let's fact check that. Here's evidence of this. 2 headlines. 1, slavery in Yemen by Al Jazeera. Let's look at that though. Slavery in Yemen. Al Jazeera. Let's check it out. Despite government denials, this investigation uncovers evidence of slave labor in Yemen by Al Jazeera. 10 September 20.
To be fair, no matter what Al Jazeera says here, I never trust them for anything, so it doesn't really matter.
2014. Now, which government was in power on the 10th of December 2014? It's the previous government, the one that was Saudi-backed to fight against the Houthis. This video is about slavery in Yemen being covered up and enabled by the previous Yemeni government that the Houthis have overthrown. You stupid motherfucker. This is pro-Houthi propaganda, if anything. What's his other source? This is such a great demonstration of Ethan. Like, he just Googles shit, puts it there, puts a headline there, and acts like he's proven his claims, when he fucking has not. Houthis restore slavery in Yemen. Let's check this one out. So this one is a 2019 article from Arshak al-Awsat. What is Arshak al-Awsat? According to Wikipedia, it is the newspaper of a private company that was founded with the approval of the Saudi royal family and government ministers, which is noted for its support of the Saudi government. The newspaper is owned by a member of the Saudi royal family. So this newspaper is a Saudi newspaper owned and run by the Saudi royal family to post pro-Saudi propaganda. The Saudis are like the main actors in a decade-long assault on Yemen by them and their puppet government in Yemen, which has resulted in something like 400,000 deaths. So is the Saudi government a reliable actor here? Is this something that we should take at face value just based on the headline? No, this is like citing fucking Joseph Goebbels to prove that the Jews are enslaving fucking Aryans or something, dude. Like, that is this bad. These are the people who caused this great suffering, this great genocide in Yemen, and you're just citing them unfucking critically when with this propaganda they put out to delegitimize their enemies. This is like even dumber than the other stuff that he cited. What are the sources for this? Sources close to the group told the paper. Oh, whoa. Several local reports have
Usually how it works, sources close to the source.
confirmed this. Yemeni activists have revealed. They told us that there is slavery. A lawyer told us. A civilian told us. Experts confirmed this to us. There is literally nothing here. Oh, don't forget the U.S. State Department said so. The U.S. State Department, the other main actor in this Yemeni genocide, in this genocide of Yemen, fighting against the Houthis, supporting the puppet government. Wow, Ethan, you just straight up cited fucking Saudi pro-genocide propaganda from 2019, by the way, when this genocide was still in full swing. Great source, you fucking dumbass. Like, this is insane. This man does not have a critical bone in his body, and this proves it. Like, from the thing of him, like,
Ironic. So ironic.
positively citing an embarrassing clip where he just took like a propaganda documentary about Uyghur death camps at face value, now to this with him just taking straight up made up Saudi propaganda at face value, as well as not even like looking at what that Al Jazeera video was actually about, which was about the slavery under the government that the Houthis are fighting and have largely deposed. Absolutely fucking unbelievable. And he just moves on like he's proven this. Dude, this took him like months to make. Just for a comparison of the quality of like the research, my latest video took me maybe 12 days to make. It's almost as long as this. And I don't know how this took him two fucking months to make. Like, it just
Amount of editing, finding all the clips. Like he's not reading off like just like one newspaper. Like just finding the videos of Hassan probably took the longest time.
just further proves the level of incompetence that Ethan Klein operates under. Like, he's just so dumb, man. What else is there to say about this? Uncritically citing Saudi government made up propaganda and
Yes, because Googling an article, reading it, and making a 2-hour video about it is taking the same amount of effort as finding multiple fucking clips of Hassan saying something out of like an 8 to 10 hour stream on different days. It's not like he just like, randomly hits a spot, like he knows exactly where the clip is, whatever. No, there's not. He had to have a team watch the whole fucking video, probably like obviously in higher speed, to find the clip that they can use. And they probably found a lot of clips they could use and threw away a whole lot of them. But let's talk about critical ball in your body, right?
presenting a documentary from 2014 about the previous government as if it's about the Houthis. He's just going to move on as well. Like, he doesn't even engage with the sources, doesn't even actually cite anything from within them. Just look at this headline that says what I want to say. Look at this negative thing about these people who I want to paint negatively. That's it. Anyway, so I'm just going to make my own little article here about Ethan Klein, using the same standard of evidence that he used for him saying that Houthis restored slavery. This is the name of the news service. We are the Hassan Piker, the state news service, 100% unbiased. Okay? This is 100% unbiased news. And the headline is going to be, Ethan Klein confirmed restores slavery to Beverly Hills. This is absolutely 100% objective news. You guys cannot say anything about this not being objective. Silence. Sources told us that Ethan Klein has restored slavery to Beverly Hills. Experts confirm this. A donkey in the street even made numerous noises when we asked if it would confirm the heinous crimes of Ethan Klein. As far as I'm concerned, this is dispositive evidence that Ethan Klein has returned slavery.
It's actually pretty funny that he made this, but yeah. I mean, he's right. That is the source, but like honestly, that's how I treat Al Jazeera, and let's be real, he's probably taking the word of Al Jazeera when it comes to anti-Israeli propaganda multiple times. So, like treat the source the same way in both cases, and we'll be fair, but let's be real, he wouldn't. Because when the source says what he wants it to say, like Al Jazeera, he would likely cite them. When it says something that he doesn't want it to say, then he's like, oh, well, they're not reliable source. I know he's not copying Al Jazeera, he's talking about the Saudi newspaper, whatever.
To Beverly Hills, and we need to get everyone looking into this immediately. The Hassan Piker State News Service would not lie about this. Do you think that the Hassan Piker State News Service would just make up sources that told them? Experts, they would even just interview a fake donkey? They would never do that. How dare you insinuate that? Oh my god, this is the brain of Ethan Klein, the critical thinking skills of Ethan Klein and his audience. Like, none of them question this at all. Incredible, man.
Allah is doing what Luffy would do.
That lines up with leftist values. All right, so these guys are clearly the bad guys. So my question is, how does Hassan cover such a genocidal,
Clearly the bad guys? Bad guys relative to who? The Yemeni government backed by Saudis committing genocide? Or Israel?
Both sides can be bad. It doesn't really matter. Like, you can have two bad sides in a war. Like, that's not, like, yeah. I can easily say NATO are the bad guys and Russia are the bad guys in the same war that they're fighting one another. NATO encroaching on Russian territory isn't like an evil move. Not evil, but like that's a bad move, right? Russia retaliating is also a bad move. Why? Because civilians die. So they're both the bad guys in that scenario. Wow. Okay. They're both evil. Woo.
Or the USA also backing those Saudis doing the genocide. Relative to who? Relative to those people, these are the good guys, even if everything that you said about them was true, including the slavery. Because that's how bad those people are, that they would be better than them. Like, come on, dude. You're just so fucking dumb. Like, these guys are the bad guys. Who are the good guys then, Ethan?
Misogynistic, homophobic, terroristic organization.
Doesn't have to be a good side.
These were the people that the Saudis were killing, by the way. Just so you know, these fucking musically gifted individuals. Yeah.
Why do you show us him talking about the Saudis killing them and you provide no context about him? Has he even mentioned the Saudis? I don't think so.
Wait. Hold up.
Saudis were killing, by the way. Just so you know, these fucking musically gifted individuals.
Yeah. I'm sorry, everybody.
Why do you show us him talking about the Saudis killing them and then you provide no context about it? Has he even mentioned the Saudis? I don't think so.
What's that have to do with anything right now?
اسأل أصحاب الفخامة والمعالي واسألوا عن الحشود العسكري يوم سيطرنا على الخوضة بعالي.
This is literally a song about their rebellion against the US Saudi-backed.
Yes, it's called a propaganda, terrorist propaganda song. Yes, yes. Yeah, they're using music for the propaganda. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Hassan calls it a music video because they're musically gifted, but this is not musically gifted.
Yemeni government, which they defeated. And the only way that a group like this could possibly win in such a situation, given the pervasive international support that the former Yemeni government had, is due to their much greater local support. And you should be asking questions about why that is instead of just trying to delegitimize this.
That's right, my friend. Hassan just played straight up terrorist propaganda without even being there to analyze it.
What makes them terrorists? You have not
Because Twitch is a US company following US laws. US designated them as a terrorist organization. Therefore, you are showing terrorist propaganda. Therefore, they are terrorists. I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't know, man. I feel like it's pretty straightforward.
Explain what makes them terrorists. Why are they terrorists? What is it that makes them terrorists? The US government said so? Because that's the only thing you've actually cited so far.
That's the only thing you need to cite. The US government considers them as terrorists. Unless there's like a revolt inside of the US and like the government shifts and like they no longer designates them as not necessarily a revolt, but until the US doesn't stop designating them as a terrorist organization, they are in effect a terrorist organization so long as you are located in the US, which Twitch is located in the US.
Can you provide us like evidence of a terrorist attack that they have done?
Surely this must be against terms of service. Twitch does not allow content that depicts, glorifies, encourages, or supports terrorism or violent extremist actors. For example, displaying or linking terrorist or extremist propaganda, even for the purpose of denouncing such content. Denouncing? Okay, but what's the rule for endorsing it? Is that okay?
What makes this terrorist?
The answer is yes, as Hassan was never punished for this blatant violation of Twitch community.
He has not done anything to show us that they are terrorists.
He doesn't have to. They're a designated terrorist organization. That's it. Like he doesn't have to he doesn't have to go against the US government of why they decided that they're a terrorist organization. They are. That's it. Like they are a designated terrorist organization. If you have a problem with them being designated as a terrorist organization, go to your government and complain about it and protest that they need to change it. Until then, they are.
You're supposed to accept it by default because they're Arab, basically. That's it.
No, not because they're Arab. Because
why are they terrorists?
Not because they're Arab, because he doesn't consider Yemenis as terrorists. He considers the Houthis, which are part of, the Yemeni resistance, right? The Yemeni resistance is a terrorist organization, not Yemen, right? He doesn't consider all Palestinians terrorists, just Hamas, right? So not because they're Arab. So now you're just completely, ruining your own image, trying to, say something that is actually not true to what Ethan has been saying. So,
Ethan, why can't you include evidence of this claim in your video? Everything that he claims, it's like he just expects it to be self-evident. He does not at all, ever, actually provide any reason to believe him unless it's just like, I think this, I'm going to call them this. This is terrorism. China is doing genocide. I don't have to prove any of my claims because I know that my audience is going to be perceptible to this by default. They don't know why either. I don't know why I believe this. I just do.
Guidelines. Got it. So denouncing terrorism is bad. Don't do that. Endorsing terrorism is good. Okay, got it, Twitch.
Why are they terrorists? Can you tell us?
This is a 3-minute video of... What do you mean a music video? When you said music video, I'm expecting like bad example, Chris Brown dancing,
Maybe next is going to complain that NMP LOL is going to be upset that he's watching a terrorist propaganda video.
No, they do musicals. They're very musical people.
Are you being serious? Dog, what do you want? You think I made this? I know they're singing, but I'm seeing this guns and shit. This isn't a music video, Hassan.
No, it is. They do musicals about like their fucking they're their actions all the time.
Hold on, guys, hold on. I've got this. Instead of terrorist propaganda, let's call it musicals.
They do musicals.
Instead of violent jihadists,
Violent jihadists, like, dude, he's just throwing like negative adjectives and nouns at them. He doesn't provide any proof of his claims. Why are they terrorists? More than anything else, why are they terrorists but the IDF isn't even? Why is Rashid a terrorist but Hila Klein isn't? I'd love to talk to you live about that. We could do some comparisons and we can get to the bottom of your claims here rather than you just saying them with no fucking evidence.
let's call them musically talented people.
They're very musical people.
Are you being serious?
Guys, let's just use our brains. Fiddler on the Roof.
Here's the best example of like the normal person's perspective of why they are terrorists. NMP Lol has nothing to do with politics, doesn't care about politics, doesn't watch politics, nothing. Okay? And when he sees that video, he knows it's not a musical. He doesn't outright say it, but you can tell by what he's saying that he thinks that is a terrorist propaganda. Not necessarily maybe in those words, but like he definitely knows it's not a music video. I wonder why. Somebody who has nothing to do with politics probably doesn't understand anything about geopolitical situations, especially Israel-Palestine, which is probably one of the most complex ones. And he can clearly see that is not a music video, that is what seems to be a terrorist propaganda.
Musical people. Are you being serious?
Guys, let's just use our brains. Fiddler on the Roof. Wicked. Alexander Hamilton, man. There's no reason we...
Oh my god, he's so not fucking funny and just
This is actually pretty fucking funny, yeah.
stupid. This is so embarrassing.
Can't put these Houthis on Broadway.
Well, they go, listen, you want to fucking bring a ship through here? We're going to take it. So that's exactly what the Houthis start doing. They start fucking sending in helicopters onto fucking ships. Bro, they fucking, look at this. They got the Palestinian flag that they painted under the helicopter.
This is the main point I want to see him debunk. This is probably what I'm gonna end the video after this point.
They fucking they start overtaking the ships. And they're like, guess what, dog? No more trade to Israel. If you are sending ships into Israel, if you are owned by an Israeli subsidiary, if you're owned by an Israeli corporation.
Now, if Ethan was pro-Palestinian, as he claims himself that he's pro-Palestinian, blah, blah, blah. He's just a two-state solutionist. He would support this act. He would support a blockade against shipping owned by Israel, going to Israel, or related to an Israel-supporting state like its many Western allies. He would be 100% for that. He would be 100% for real action taken against the genocide. Not just for that. You know, he would be for like fucking military intervention against Israel to stop a genocide, stuff like that. You'd think that, right? Like, this is relatively mild compared to what is warranted against Israel for its many crimes, particularly the recent genocide. This is relatively nothing. This is equivalent to like blockading Nazi shipping in World War II. Or, you know, ships that refused to identify themselves when trying to pass through a blockade, or ships that were suspected of being linked to the Nazis or their allies or whatever. That was carried out in World War II by the British, by the Americans, by everyone, basically. That's what this is.
Were they kidnapped for a year? When they, did the checkups? Were they kidnapped for like a year? Or like everyone on board?
It's a blockade against shipping related to an ongoing genocide in some way.
In international waters, by the way.
And let's see if he's for this, because you would expect someone who is pro-Palestine to be for something as basic as this, putting actual real material pressure on a country and its allies to...
I honestly, if this was actually the case, then I have no problem with it. Them blocking shipments to Israel, they're in active war. Yeah, you gotta do everything you can to win, to give you the advantage. Honestly, it's a great strategic move. However, where this idea falls apart is when the ship is not Israeli, it's not owned by an Israeli person. Okay, the ship doesn't go towards Israel. This kind of idea also really falls apart. And again, international waters, it's not your territory. This territory protected by basically like, well, I mean, I guess it's not protected by anyone, but technically it's supposed to be protected by everyone. Like, you can't just like do whatever you want in international waters, basically.
Stop doing genocide. That is the most basic pro-Palestinian thing that I could imagine.
We're going to take over your ship. You cannot fucking use this trade route anymore. Guess what, bitch? It's our fucking territorial boundary, and we're going to enforce this until you stop doing genocide in Gaza.
So let's review his claims. His first claim is that the boat is headed for Israel. It's not. It's going from Turkey to India. Next claim is that it's owned by an Israeli company. It's not. It's being chartered by a Japanese company, and the boat's owners are registered in the Isle of Man.
Okay, so this is another great example of Ethan's dumbassery. Let's read this. The ship's registered owner is Galaxy Maritime Ltd, a company registered in the Isle of Man. Its flag state is the Bahamas, and at the time of seizure, the ship was chartered by a Japanese company. Galaxy Maritime Ltd is owned by the Isle of Man Shipping Corporation or something. I don't know, it's cut off. He didn't even include the whole thing. But its beneficial owners are Abraham Ungar and Yael Ungar. Abraham Ungar and Yael Ungar are an Israeli billionaire couple. So this is a ship that is owned by an Israeli company that is registered in the Isle of Man for tax purposes. Now, if you don't know, the Isle of Man is like a tiny island near Britain that is most famous for having these motorcycle races where like 5 people die per year because they just do it on the street and people crash into the wall and get like their brains just blow up. Very funny. But aside from that, do you genuinely believe that this billion-dollar shipping company owned by Israelis is just a normal company from the Isle of Man, Ethan Klein? It's an Israeli.
Is the ship going to Israel or not? Okay, it's owned by a Jew. I'll give you that point. It's owned by an Israeli dude. Okay. Or Israeli couple, I guess. Okay. It's registered in Isle of Man, let's say for tax purposes. Sure, you know. The flag is the Bahamas. Doesn't matter. Okay, all of this, like, okay, I'll give you that. It is an Israeli owned company. Okay. Does it go to Israel? Are the crew Israeli or Jewish at all?
Israeli fucking company registered in the Isle of Man. The Houthis know this. This is public information. Everyone knows this. That's why they stopped this. It's an Israeli company.
So why were the captives? Why were the crew hostages for like over a year? They have nothing to do with this. They're just crews. They're just the crew.
And good on them for doing so. Thank you. He's trying to frame this as terrorism. It's like he spent the last 10 minutes poisoning the well against the Houthis. Them
stealing the ship, in my opinion, is not terrorism. Them kidnapping the crew for over a year is terrorism because the crew has nothing to do with it.
To make you hate them because they're misogynistic.
Them stealing the ship is just being a pirate. Pirates are not terrorists, technically, right? They're pirates. They steal shit. Well, sometimes they usually also kill the thing, right? But it's like they were held for a year. The captives were held for a year. As far as I know, there were no terms for release. They were just held for a year for no reason.
Slavery, all of this shit, you know, based on spurious or just outright falsified sourcing. Because he knows that the weakest part of his argument is this part, where he actually has to try to justify him opposing a blockade designed to put pressure on countries that are carrying out or supporting a genocide, which, you know, doesn't really mesh with him being pro-Palestinian. So he needs...
The ship played absolutely zero pressure in putting pressure on Israel. Like it put zero pressure on Israel. This specific ship had nothing to do with putting pressure on Israel. There was nothing on board that goes to Israel. Like the most it would have been is that the deal that, you know, Abraham and Yael would have gotten from, let's say, this trade on this ship, they could have used that money to support Israel. However, they're already billionaires. So this is not even putting a dent into their, like, you know, finances.
Needs to try to find a way around this. And the way that he's trying to do that is by claiming that the Houthis are just attacking random ships with nothing to do with Israel. And the first ship that he cites for as evidence of this is one that's fucking Israeli. Just straight up owned by Israelis. You fucking moron.
I'd like to remind everybody that the crew that's kidnapped in this video has been missing for over a year now with zero updates on their health, whereabouts.
This is completely incorrect. Galaxy Leader Crew was released about 2 weeks before he uploaded this video.
Yeah. It's still been... Again, when he released the video is not when he finished making the segment for that part of the video. So, yes, this guy was released. Like, this is completely untrue. He was actually released two weeks before you released this video, which would still make it over a year of captivity.
On the 22nd of January, the crew were released, and the crew were visited by the International Red Cross twice, and it was verified that they were in good health by them. They were released completely unharmed. You are just spreading...
After how long? How long were they in captivity? There's more than physical harm. Okay, they're a year away from their family. Like they're a year away from like their homes. There's probably financial harm that is being done to them, like where they live, like if they have property that they are not maintaining for this year of captivity.
Pure misinformation there.
Abouts or anything. That lines up with leftist values.
Also, it is completely and utterly ridiculous, by the way, to frame it being the fault of the Houthis. That this blockade,
it's not,
which was
wait.
announced beforehand, also obviously is going to involve the crew of the ships.
But they have no right to a blockade for international waters. That doesn't matter. Like, you can announce all of the blockades all you want. You don't have any right for international waters. It's not your territory.
Whose fault is it when you try to run a blockade being carried out against genocide and the crew inevitably gets caught up in that? Is it the fault of the shipping companies?
Of the Houthis. Of course it's the fault of the Houthis. What do you mean?
For running the blockade, or is it the fault of the Houthis for doing what is ultimately, obviously, a good thing? It's the fault of the shipping companies, obviously, and it's fucking ludicrous.
No, it's actually the fault of the person making the blockade, especially when it's international waters. Like, what? Like, is it the fault of the person who's standing in the middle of the road trying to block traffic, or is it the fault of the car that accidentally ran him over?
You are so opposed to any action for Palestine, any real action for Palestine, that you're against even this. Like, it's desperate grasping for straws. It's desperately grasping for something to point to delegitimize absolutely anything. He's against literally everyone who fights for Palestine. Every single resistance group, every country, every government, he opposes them. He doesn't even like say, okay, I support this action that they do, but I'm against the government in general. I'm against this group in general, but I'm for this thing that they did. No. He's against all of it. He's against every single one. This is someone who claims to be pro-Palestine. Yet he's against everyone who fights for Palestine. He's against every single action for Palestine. He has not seen an action carried out for the purpose of defending the Palestinian people that he was not against. It's so ludicrous to be like, oh, well, I guess there's crew in the ship, so you should not be allowed to stop the ship from running your blockade.
You can stop the ship all you want. Doesn't matter. You can steal. Like, stealing a cargo ship doesn't make you a terrorist. Kidnapping the crew, which, by the way, if you let the Red Cross see them, then you might as well let the Red Cross take them too, because you have no purpose of keeping the crew hostage. There's no reason to keep them hostage. So,
Being carried out to put pressure on countries doing genocide. It's about on the level of arguing that you shouldn't attack a military base because there's contracted cleaners.
it's not completely not an equal fucking the same level of comparison. What the hell does a cruise ship that is privately owned by, I guess, Israeli citizens, okay, I don't even know if they're citizens anymore, like if they reside in Israel, they might be supporting Israel, okay, like he didn't really prove that they are, right, just Israeli billionaires, Jewish billionaires, okay, and comparing their trade ship, their cruise ship that they're sending to, I don't know, fucking like Japan or some shit like that, has anything to do with Israel, and comparing that to like a military target, you cannot compare the two. These are like completely not the same thing. That's so stupid.
Is there who are civilians. Obviously, any action has the potential for collateral damage, and in this case, the collateral damage was relatively minimal. No one died, no one was hurt. As soon as the ceasefire was announced, the crew was released, the blockade was called off.
Why did you need the crew to stay there? They're not political targets. There's no bounty on them. There's no like no trade for their heads. Like they're not captives of war. They like legit have nothing to do with this situation. They are not even, like, they don't even live anywhere near Israel or whatever, right? It's like they have nothing to do with this situation. They have nothing to do with the war. It's like me kidnapping a random Australian in a war in China versus Russia, right? I just kidnap a random Australian. It's like, oh, well, we're just holding him here until the ceasefire. Like, why? What does he even have to do with this war? Nothing. It's just, we need hostages, so we got one.
Very simple.
Hassan's third claim is that this attack happened in their territorial waters, which is also a lie. It happened...
You know why, actually? You know why they kept them hostages? Because they were hoping maybe like the Houthis could get bombed or something by Israel. because they did get bombed by Israel at some point. I believe they destroyed some gas units or whatever, or oil units. So they were hoping that Israel would actually like attack them, and then they could use the hostages to see, like, see, Israel is killing these hostages too. I 100% believe that is the case.
In international waters. Hassan is lying for
What
the
would happen in international waters? Who fucking cares? I don't give a shit if the blockade was in their territorial waters, technically, or in international waters, slightly outside of their territorial waters. Still 100% legitimate. What
Well, this actually makes it illegitimate, technically. No, it's not their. It's not their territory to defend. It's not territory to attack. Like, yeah. So again, but again, they are Houthis. Like, they don't really have territory. It's like whatever you can take is yours, type of mentality. Which I do agree with. So that's why I'm like, I don't really care that they took the ship. It's more about the hostages. Right? There's no reason to hold the hostages that have nothing to do with this. Have no connection to Israel. The ship, honestly, I think it's a good target. Like, let's be real. It's a good target. Even if it only had like resources that they could use and has nothing to do with Israel, I think it's like fucking fair target. I don't give a shit. Like, yeah, these people also need to survive to fight their battles. So I'm not saying like they are right or wrong, but it's like I can see like, you know, this is just for their own survival. And that one, I'm like, yeah, that's fine, right? Like, I wouldn't call that an act of terror. It just, I can call it a crime, but like, man, I'm not gonna, you know, blame a child for stealing bread because it's gonna die of starvation tomorrow. I don't get, like, yeah, it's a crime, but at the same time, I mean, like, I understand it. So yeah, in their case, stealing the ship, understandable, totally fine. The crew, not very understandable, not totally fine. Unless you want to use them as human shields or like victims of the war with Israel, and like Israel somehow like bombed them and killed them. Unless that is the case, I don't see why you had to keep them there for a year.
do you fucking think is permissible action to take to fight a genocide in Gaza? What do you think is permissible? You don't seem to support anything, not even this. He opposes this because he...
To be fair, what is permissible is not even the question. I don't think permissible is really the question we should be asking. What is permissible during a time of war? In my opinion, everything is permissible. Because the winning side is the one who dictates history. There's plenty of atrocities that happen throughout human history when it comes to wars. Everything is technically permissible. Like, you can try and write as many rules as you want against human atrocities, against human rights violations, you know, laws of warfare, yada yada yada. You can write all the shit you want. It doesn't matter. The losing side is going to try and take any advantage they can over the winning side to win the war. It's a fight for survival. There are no real rules. You can try and make rules, but like, let's be real, when push comes to shove, these rules mean jack shit. So there are no rules to war. You think there are, I'm sorry, you're a bit naive. People will do whatever they can to win. It is what it is.
He supports what Israel does ultimately and is against whatever is done for Palestinians. So that's why he opposes this. Don't fall for this shit. He has not seen a single action for Palestine that he's not opposed to.
The Houthis like he's being paid. And honestly, at this point, is he?
I'm a prophet.
You are factually being paid to make this video by a billionaire Zionist businessman who...
He thinks because he's sponsored by ExpressVPN that he's actually paid to make this video. Pretty sure that's not exactly how this works. Pretty sure he made more money from the views in total than he did from the ExpressVPN. I think.
Donates millions to the IDF, and you have the gall to say that like there's a global Houthi conspiracy to do pro-Houthi propaganda.
Well, no, I'm not calling it propaganda.
This is like a hostile. They're streaming this?
Yeah, they're flexing.
What? And they're coming in hot with guns.
Yeah.
Why am I supposed to think that this is bad?
Yeah, but you have to understand, this is a deterrent. Israeli society is going to start getting upset. They're going to be like, I can't get my treats. I can't get my Amazon Prime deliveries. What the fuck is going on?
Honestly, this has nothing to do with showing that it's bad. It's showing how stupid Hassan is by believing this. And that's the point Ethan makes right after this.
I hate this. Israel sucks. I'm leaving Israel. That's the goal.
I find it disturbing that Hassan thinks that a slowdown of imports is going to cause Jews to flee Israel. 80% of Israel.
Jews to flee Israel. You see what?
I love that he's taking that that specific sentence instead of the broader point of that he's making, but sure.
What I said about just reframing Israelis as Jews? Like a blockade against a country carrying
Well,
out.
they clearly don't like who do you think will flee Israel? Why would the Arabs flee Israel? The Arabs are clearly like, they're not the target, right? Jews are the target here. They're not, the charter doesn't say death to America, death to Israel, death to curse upon the Jew, and death to any Arab who supported Israel. That's not what the thing says. It says the war is against the Jews, especially the Jews in Israel, but overall the Jews. So yeah, that's exactly what it means. That like he's not even wrong by saying it.
Out genocide, and he's like, dude, are you saying that you want Jews to flee Israel? You want to materially impact the lives of the people of a country that...
Literally what Hassan was saying. Yes. He's saying the goal here is to make the Israelis flee.
Out genocide?
Are you f***ing start getting upset? They're gonna be like, I can't get my treats. I can't get my Amazon Prime deliveries. What the fuck is going on? I hate this. Israel sucks. I'm leaving Israel. That's the goal.
I'm leaving Israel. That's the goal. Literally Hassan's words. To which Ethan replies,
I find it disturbing that Hassan thinks that a slowdown of imports is going to cause Jews to flee Israel. 80% of Israel.
it's exactly what he means. That is exactly what he means. And then this guy loses shit. It's like, oh my god, he equated Israelis to Jews. Well, they're the only ones in Israel who are being targeted, realistically speaking, right? I don't hear about terror attacks or missiles being fired towards Kseife. Okay, I heard about being targeted into Tel Aviv, not really the Yaffo region. Okay, Ashdod, Ashkelon, all the like highly populated Jewish area, not so much the Bedouin settlements that are all around those areas. Usually those guys don't really get a whole lot of terror threats. Usually it's the the cities where majority population is Jewish. I think maybe it's a coincidence, it's like, oh, well, there's just more people there. That's why we're shooting rockets in that direction.
Jews to flee really impact the... How dare you? Just Jewish, the poor little Jewish people. Every single... You know that?
Oh my
you
God,
guys need
so
to come to terms with
stupid.
victims. Israelis live great lives at the cost of Palestinians. An entire people is oppressed.
Oh my god, and if you're using that fucking logic, everybody's living great lives at the cost of somebody else's suffering. Like, it's just such a stupid fucking argument, man. Oh, Israelis are living at the expense of Palestinians. Bro, you live in Israel, you don't think about Palestinians, okay? You just live your own fucking life, okay? Oh, Americans are living great lives at the expense of the natives. Bro, like... And billionaires have very happy life at the expense of their workers. Oh shit! And some men live a very great life at the expense of women that they abuse. Okay, this is like normal. It's not good, but it's normal. Like, this is not like fucking outworldly fucking behavior. Okay, everybody is living more comfortably at the expense of somebody else's suffering, okay? Children live comfortably at the expense of their parents trying to figure out how to survive the month. Like, this is such a stupid fucking argument,
so that they
man.
can thrive. And Ethan Klein is framing them as little more than poor little Jewish babies.
No. You're reframing what Ethan just said to make it seem as if he's saying it, which, by the way, doesn't even come close to what he's saying. Has nothing to do with it, but man, this person's just so fucking
and
vile.
even when
Oh
that
my
country is
God.
literally carrying out genocide, it's
Again,
still...
by the way, never has the point been proven that Israel is actually committing genocide. He just keeps saying it, but like, at no point is there a proof that Israel is committing genocide. So
somehow wrong for you to take any action against it because they're Jewish.
Israelis were born there and do not have citizenship anywhere else. So where do you want them to go?
What are you talking
Oh, Hassan,
about?
back to...
He said that he hopes that Israelis choose to immigrate because ships can't bring
no.
in...
He said they leave Israel. He said in the hopes that they're stopping their prime shipments from Amazon and making their life more miserable in Israel, so they would leave. Didn't say immigrate to other places, just said leave. Oh, where's the context, Hassan? If we use this guy's stupid strategy, because yeah, we can try and understand it however we want to understand it, like what he means by leave, right? Ethan is not being very generous in his understanding, which is, again, very understandable because this is a content nuke, not let me try to understand everything Hassan says in the most positive light type of video, okay? Obviously. So, like, yeah, no, Hassan said, we're gonna make their life more miserable, so they choose to leave. Where the fuck are they gonna go? You think they can just immigrate, like, to anywhere they want? It's like, oh, I'm Jewish, so I can just go back to wherever, or I can just, like, oh, I can just go to the US without any fucking documents. Oh, Canada will just take me in. Dude, fuck no. That's, like, many years of fucking progress, like 7 years for a lot of them. Okay, 5 to 7 years of paperwork, of lawyers, that in order to migrate to a different country. So where do you want them to leave exactly?
In their Amazon Prime deliveries, and Ethan Klein's response to that is, you want them to be in the death camps, don't you? This is insane. This is
Yeah, he took the worst fucking possible scenario, but he's not wrong. Like, where do you expect them to leave? Yeah, this is a hyperbolic example, and I love that he only takes the hyperbolic example by Ethan, not by Hassan, not his own hyperbolic examples. But yeah, whatever.
Is utterly fucking crazy. This guy's such a fucking spectacular moron. Oh my god.
He still didn't answer the question where he wants them to leave, by the way.
What? You think that Israel should be put under pressure to the point where the Israeli populace turns against the government because they can't get their Amazon Prime deliveries?
It does, like, first of all, that wasn't even the argument. The argument was that they just leave. Okay. Second of all, if that was the argument, what then? Lay down their arms? Just die for the Palestinians?
As a result of a blockade? You want Jews to be put into death camps, don't you? What a fucking insane moron.
Poland, or back to the Arab countries they were forced out of.
Israel sucks. I'm leaving Israel. That's the goal.
Hey, man. As I went over earlier, Ethan, there was actually an offer given to the Arab Jews who you say were forced out of Arab countries. I went over this in my video response to you, which I know that you've watched. So yeah, they could.
How does he know he watched it? I don't even know if Ethan knows who this guy is. Like, I know you watched it. How do you know he watched it? What? Like, how are you so self-important? Like, bro, I don't expect this guy to watch this video responding to him. Like, I'm a nobody. I have like fucking 200 subscribers, or maybe 300, right? Like, I'm nowhere near this guy's level in views. I have absolutely no reason to believe he would watch this video, right? Would be great if he does, but like, I have absolutely no reason to believe he would. Same as like your 300k viewer with 186k subs talking to a 5.5 million sub, 3.2 million viewer content creator. He doesn't have to know who the fuck you are. You're nobody to him. What are you talking about?
Return there.
The
thing is,
self-importance.
obviously, though, that they don't. You know why they don't? Why would they? They live in a country that is for their ethnicity, by their ethnicity. They live great there. You know, they live on other people's land and other people's houses. Millions of people are oppressed for their benefit. Why would they want to go back to some random other country and like get like their grandpa's house back or something? Not only that, but the Israeli government has prevented them from doing this. The Israeli government has always been against people doing that because it would legitimize the Palestinian.
Well, why would they, this is going to be the last point, why would they not want to go back to a country that even offers them whatever they want, because there's no guarantees with those countries, as it has been with the history of the Jew, okay? No matter where they were, no matter which country accepted them, at some point that country kicked them out, okay? And it led all the way, for 3,000 years, led all the way to World War II. Israel is the only technically safe haven for the Jew, right? Because it accepts Jews regardless. It will never kick them out. It will, like, the whole point of that country is to not have, to not kick out the Jew, to not abuse the Jew, to not treat them as secondary citizens, okay? To have a country for the Jew. That is actually the purpose. It's a safe haven for all Jewish people. That is the purpose of Israel. Okay, you might not like it if you support Palestine, but that is the purpose of Israel. That's why I'm also not a fan of the two-state solution, because that is not the purpose of Israel. Okay, if they can earn this, if Palestinians can earn a two-state solution, good on them, but honestly, I'm vehemently against it. Okay, it's like America is for Americans, Israel is for Jews. Okay, because America is not a religious, right? It's like not religious, but like the purpose of that country is a safe haven for Jews. That is literally the main purpose why that country even exists. Okay, that's why all Jews automatically get citizenship even if they have never stepped foot in Israel. Okay, because it's a safe haven, and it is a place where the Jew would never be prosecuted for being a Jew. And that is the whole purpose of Israel. Anyways, I think I'm done with this guy. He's just reiterating the same points. He just keeps his bias against Ethan alive and well for probably the next 2 hours. I will give him the ship point. He does. He did debunk Ethan, so we have one debunk in 2.5 hours. We have one debunk of Ethan, which comes to the ship, and one hyperbole that happened somewhere in the beginning, where Ethan said something hyperbolic that was, I think he was equating something to genocide. I don't remember what it was. Look at part 1 of this to figure out. It's been like a week since I made that video. So in 2.5 hours, he debunked kind of one point. The ship part, in my opinion, is not terrorist attack. It is a crime, sure, but in my opinion, pirates stealing food for survival and resources, I'm not going to call that terrorism. However, I will call it terrorism when you kidnap the crew that has nothing to do with it and hold them for over a year. And for no reason other than probably use them as human shields in case of an Israeli attack, to blame Israel for killing these hostages, right? Anyways, I'm done with this guy. I'm not gonna record any more of this, honestly. Like, I just can't be bothered. This guy's literally insane. So yeah, thanks for watching. That was part 5, I think, and I think that is 4 parts too many. All right, we're done with this.